Okay, I think everything is set up. Okay, very good. So, since tomorrow night is Chanukah, I figured that we would discuss Inyanei Chanukah, and at the same time, since it is a Tehillim Shiur, what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip to Parak Limud. I'm going to... one second. There's somebody came in. Okay. I'm going to skip to Parak Limud in Tehillim, which is Mizmar Sher Chanukah Sabayis LeDavid. So this is the kapitel that David HaMelech wrote for the Chanukah Sabayis. So the first thing that we have to realize is that David HaMelech wanted to build the Beis HaMikdash. Not sure if I could find it that quickly, but he wanted to build the Beis HaMikdash. And Nasan Hanavi, the Rebbeinu Shalom sent Nasan Hanavi to him and told him that you're not going to build the Beis HaMikdash. Your son Shlomo HaMelech is going to build the Beis HaMikdash. But while Shlomo HaMelech is the one who actually built the Beis HaMikdash, David HaMelech purchased the land that the Beis HaMikdash would be built on. David HaMelech drew up the plans for the Beis HaMikdash. David HaMelech set aside the money and the raw materials for the Beis HaMikdash. So David HaMelech did a tremendous amount of the groundwork, of the preparation for the building of the Beis HaMikdash, so that Shlomo HaMelech would be able to pick up and build without any issues. Now, we're going to see in this kapitel that the fact that David HaMelech didn't build the Beis HaMikdash, and instead Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash, was actually a tremendous chesed to David HaMelech. It was for David HaMelech's own good that Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash and not him himself. But from the composition of this kapitel, when we look at this kapitel of Tehillim, one of the things that we need to realize is that David HaMelech was thirsting and looking forward to the building of the Beis HaMikdash, and he composed a kapitel in Tehillim that should be sung at the opening of the Beis HaMikdash. So his whole mindset, his focus, was on that building of the Beis HaMikdash to the extent that he composed a shira. He composed a song to be sung at the Chanukah Sabayis on the Beis HaMikdash. Now, what does David HaMelech say? So, it behooves us, especially going into Chanukah, what was on David HaMelech's mind? What did David HaMelech think should be sung at the dedication of a Beis HaMikdash? In that, we can see what David HaMelech thought about a Beis HaMikdash. How did David HaMelech understand a Beis HaMikdash? And David HaMelech says, Mizmar Shir, this is a Mizmar, it's a song, it's a Shira, Chanukah Sabayis, it's about the Chanukah Sabayis, the dedication of the Beis HaMikdash. We use in English the word dedication. Chanukah Sabayis, the Metzudas Tzion over here says Chanukahs, Haschalas Hadavar, Sha'asid Lamoid Ba, the beginning of something, which is now becoming established, Kari Chinuch B'Lashon HaMikra. The Torah HaKadoshah uses the word Chinuch to denote and connote starting something. That's why we call raising our children Chinuch, because we're being mechanech our children. It doesn't mean we tend to think of it as teaching. It's not teaching. Chinuch is we are starting our children off. That's what we're doing. We're starting them off in life. We're giving them a jump start. We're giving them the training that they need to get started. And then they're going to go. They're going to have a life. You're not going to hold their hand the whole life. You're not going to be able to tell them right from wrong their whole life. You get them started, and then they go, and they have a life. That's chinuch. So Chanukah Sabayis is the beginning. This is the dedication and the starting off of the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, so I would think that now I would have a kapitel in Tehillim where David HaMelech would write about the greatness of the Beis HaMikdash, the nisim of the Beis HaMikdash, how fortunate we are to have a Beis HaMikdash. The odd thing is that aside from Pasuk Aleph in this kapitel, David HaMelech does not say another single solitary word about the Beis HaMikdash for the rest of this kapitel. This is the sole mention of the Beis HaMikdash is here in Pasuk Aleph, Chanukah Sabayis. After that, not another word. What happened? Somebody was just coming in here, and I let him in. Oh, okay, there he is. Okay. So, if David HaMelech doesn't mention the Beis HaMikdash again for the rest of the kapitel, what are we supposed to pull out of this kapitel? Hi, Richard, you just joined us. We're going to go back, but we're doing Perek Lamed in Tehillim this week, which is about Chanukah. Well, about Chanukah. It's about Chanukah Sabayis. It's the topic of Chanukah. So I moved to Kapitel Lamed for this week since Chanukah is tomorrow night. So David HaMelech says, Arei Mimcha Hashem, I will uplift you, Hashem, and I'm uniquely suited to uplift you. Arei Mimcha. Why? Ki dilisani. Because you lifted me up. The word dilisani, the Metzudas brings down a pasuk from Yeshaya, Dalu einai lamorim. I lift up my eyes to the heights. A dali is a bucket. In the Gemara, when we talk about drawing water from a well, it's called dalia. It's you're drawing water up with a bucket. So, Aremimcha Hashem, I will uplift you, Hashem, ki dilisani, because you uplifted me. Veloisi machta oivali, and you didn't allow my enemies to rejoice over me. Okay, what is David HaMelech referring to over here? How did Hashem uplift David HaMelech? So there's a beautiful Metzudas David over here. The Metzudas says, Roimam Tani, you uplifted me, b'ma sheshloimei b'ni, with this fact that my son Shlomo HaMelech, haba mi Basheva, that comes from Basheva. Basheva was Shlomo HaMelech's mother. Bana HaMikdash, he's the one that's going to build the Beis HaMikdash. Ki bazeh yadu hakoil, because through this everybody will know Asher machalta li al avain de Basheva, that you forgave me for the sin of Basheva. So this is why I said in the beginning of the Shiur that the fact that the Rebbeinu Shalom made it that Shlomo HaMelech should build the Beis HaMikdash and not David HaMelech himself, that was a tremendous chesed to David HaMelech. David HaMelech's enemies used to go around and they used to say, David HaMelech chas v'chalila is an adulterer. David HaMelech was mezana with an Ashes Ish. David HaMelech is a nobody. David HaMelech is a Rasha. Wasn't true. Whatever small level of chet there was to what David HaMelech did was only for somebody on David HaMelech's level. And whatever chet there was, he did tshuva, and the Rebbeinu Shalom accepted his tshuva. And the bona fide proof of that fact is that Shlomo HaMelech, who was the son that was born from David HaMelech and Bathsheba, was the one who was given the schus of building the Beis HaMikdash. So obviously, the Rebbeinu Shalom forgave David HaMelech. He was meichel him. So this is what David HaMelech says, Arei Mimcha Hashem, I will uplift you, ki dilisani, because you uplifted me. You showed the world that I got mechilas avonos. You showed the world that you forgave me. And you didn't allow my enemies who said these terrible things about me, you didn't let them rejoice over me. Okay. What we have to understand, though, in this pasuk, is two things. First of all, what does it mean, Arei Mimcha Hashem? I will uplift you, Hashem. What does that mean? What does it mean that David HaMelech will uplift Hashem? And the second question, like I mentioned, what does this have to do with the Beis HaMikdash? So the truth is that this lashon that David HaMelech uses, Arei Mimcha Hashem, I will uplift you. We have another place in Tehillim where David HaMelech uses the same word. And we all know that kapitel very well. We say Ashrei 3 times a day. We say Ashrei twice by Shachris and once by Mincha. Tehillah LeDavid, a praise written by David HaMelech. Arei Mimcha Hashem, I will uplift you, Hashem. Kapitel Kuf Mem Hey. Arei Mimcha Lekai HaMelech, I will uplift you, my God, the King. Va'avorcha Shimcha La'olam V'ed, and I will bless your name forever. So again we have Arei Mimcha. Arei Mimcha Lekai HaMelech. I believe these are the only 2 places in Tehillim where David HaMelech uses the word Arei Mimcha. Okay. When I looked over here at Kapitel Lamed, and then I looked at Kapitel Kuf Mem Hey, I had trouble finding what is it that joins these 2 kapitlach that David HaMelech says Arei Mimcha by both of them. And I struggled to find a reason. Then I remembered that the word Arei Mimcha, or a word of the same root, has a very prominent place in Chumash. And that's also something that we say every day in davening. And that's in Az Yashir. And in Az Yashir we say, Zeh Keli, Klal Yisrael, when they were crossing the Yam Suf. The Medrash tells us it's a Mechilta, famous Mechilta. The Mechilta says, Ra Shifcha al Hayam, a maidservant, a Shifcha, saw revelation, saw Giloy HaShechina. They saw, I don't know if they saw the Shechina itself, but they saw a Hiskalus, a revelation. Ma Shaloi Ra Hanavim, Ma Shaloi Ra Yecheskel ben Buzi b'Maisa HaMerkava. Even the great Navi, Yecheskel ben Buzi, he was zeicher to see the Maisa HaMerkava. That means he was zeicher to see the workings that go on in Shemayim with the Malachim, the Olam HaElyon. But a Shivcha al Hayam, a maidservant who crossed the Yamsuf, had a greater level of revelation with a greater clarity than Yecheskel ben Buzi by the Maisa HaMerkava. And when those Yidden were crossing the Yam, they pointed with a finger and they said, Zeh Keli, this is my God. They had such a clarity of experiencing the Rabbeinu Shalom, of experiencing the divine presence, that they were able to point and say, Zeh Keli, this is my God. Va'anvehu, and I will build him a dwelling place. That means that from the clarity of the revelation that they had, somehow that led them immediately to say, Va'anvehu, we have to build him a bayis. We have to build him a Beis HaMikdash. Now you understand, this is before Kabbalas HaTorah. This is before Parshas Truma. This is before the Rabbeinu Shalom ever said, V'asu li Migdash v'shachanti b'seicham. The Rabbeinu Shalom had not yet given them the concept of building a Beis HaMikdash. Yet, because of what they experienced in Yetzias Mitzrayim and in Kriyas Yamsuf, it led them on their own to say, Zeh Keli va'anveyu. This is my God, and I will build him a Beis HaMikdash. And what did they say next? Then they said, Elokei Avi, this is the God of my forefathers, va'aroi mimenu, and I will uplift him. Aroi mimenu and aroi mimcha, it's the same shirish. So we see over here in this pasuk in Az Yashir that this concept of Arei Mimcha, this is a concept that is uniquely tied to building a Beis HaMikdash. David HaMelech says, Mizmar Shir Chanukah Sabayis David Arei Mimcha Hashem, and Klal Yisrael said, Zekeli va'anveyu Elokei Avi va'aroi mimenu. So what is this all about? What does this mean? To uplift Hashem. Why did it come out of Kriyas Yamsuf and Yetzias Mitzrayim? And what does it have to do with Kapitel Kuf Mem Hey? So, I think I know I saw so Sefarna. The Sefarna in Parshas Beshalach says, where did it go? Oh, here it is. Va'aroi memenu. Klal Yisrael said, Elikei avi va'aroi memenu. Says the Sefarna, U'b'haidia l'akol, to let everyone know, Shahatachlis ha'mechuven, that the true purpose of a person, Lasais Ritzainai, is to do the will of the Rebbeinu Shalom, Hu Hatayv Mikol Hatachliyos, is the greatest purpose in life. Aremimcha Hashem, Zeh Keli Vanveu Elekei Avi V'arei Memenu. I think what it means is to uplift Hashem. When you lift something up, when you uplift something to show it to everyone, when you take a flag, right? Lahavdil, they go and they raise the flag. What does it mean to raise the flag? They raise the flag and they want everybody to unite and rally around the flag. They want the flag to be the focal point of the troops, of whoever it is. That's what the flag is. I don't know what the flag is nowadays anymore, but the flag used to be, the flag was something, the flag of the country is supposed to represent the country, and everybody is supposed to look at that flag and feel united around the flag. Even if they might have differences of opinion, or whatever it is, but they rally around the flag. To uplift something, to uplift the Rebbeinu Shalom, is to show Klal Yisrael and to show the people that the Rebbeinu Shalom and service of the Rebbeinu Shalom, Avodas Hashem, is supposed to be the focal point of our lives and the focal point of the nation. David HaMelech, well, let's start with Klal Yisrael by the Yam. What Klal Yisrael by Kriyas Yamsuf saw, they saw how the Rebbeinu Shalom took them out of Mitzrayim with the Yod Chazaka, with all the Nisim and the Makas and everything that they experienced. And then they saw the utter complete defeat of the Mitzrayim at the Yamsuf. And they saw all of the Nisim at the Yamsuf. And then they saw Mashallah Yecheskel ben Musi Mamaiser Makava. They had such a clarity of revelation of the Rebbeinu Shalom. What it moved them to say was, Zeh Keli v'anvehu, Elokei avi v'aroi mimenu. We will uplift the Rebbeinu Shalom, and we will show for all the generations to come that the sole purpose of life and the focal point of life and the focal point of Klal Yisrael has to be the Rebbeinu Shalom and Avodas Hashem. If you look in the Sefer HaChinuch, when the Sefer HaChinuch writes the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, he writes about the mitzvah of discussing the stories of Yetzias Mitzrayim by the Seder. And he says that the Rebbeinu Shalom made all of the Nisim of Yetzias Mitzrayim in order to show us with tremendous clarity that the Rebbeinu Shalom is the Borei Olam, the Rebbeinu Shalom is the one who created the world, the Rebbeinu Shalom is the one who controls everything in the world every second, the The Ribbono Shel Olam is the one that made everything exactly the way it is and keeps everything exactly the way it is every second. And if he wants to change it, he'll change it in any second. The same way he changed that he made Barad out of ice, out of water and fire, and he made water and fire coexist without the water putting out the fire, without the fire evaporating the water. That's a revelation of the Ribbono Shel Olam controlling what we call teva. We call it nature. What do you mean? Water puts out fire. But no, who said? It's like the Gemara in the Gemara about Reb Chanina ben Doisa. Reb Chanina ben Doisa, his daughter-in-law, didn't have what to light for Shabbos Licht, and Reb Chanina ben Doisa said, "Misha Yemisha Shemen Yadlik, Yemisha Shemayim Yadlik." The same Ribbono Shel Olam that said that oil burns could say that water burns. It's all the fact that oil burns is less of a nace than if water would burn. Why is it less of a nace? Only because it's our expectation. Our expectation is that oil burns and water doesn't burn. But the Ribbono Shel Olam in an instant can change it and can make that water will burn. So Yetzias Mitzrayim was to give us an indelible lesson to show us the Ribbono Shel Olam's utter and complete control of everything in the world. When Klal Yisrael experienced that with such great clarity, they realized you can't see that and then go back to, so to speak, life as normal. You can't see that and experience that. And then if you're a shoemaker, tomorrow just go on living your life as an ordinary shoemaker and get up and go to work. And What do you mean? Didn't you just see that the whole world, didn't you just see that there's a Borei Olam that created the world, that he created you, and he controls everything around you, and he gives you everything that you have, and he keeps you alive from minute to minute, and he could change everything in a half a second? Doesn't that make you realize that there's so much more to life than you thought there was? Doesn't that make you realize that there's a higher purpose in life than Stam Mishagas? How could you continue to be a person who's living in just the Havlei Olam Hazeh, just going through life in the regular pursuit of Olam Hazeh, the day-to-day mundane existence? How could you go and just keep on living like that after you see Mashal Roy Yecheskel ben Buzi Memaiser Merkava? Can't be. Can't be. So that's why what Klal Yisrael said was, they said, Zeh Keli, Zeh Keli, this is my God, Zeh Keli, Va'aroi Memenu, and I will uplift him. Meaning, let me see, I blanked out here a second, I don't know if you could hear me. 1 second. Marsha, could you still hear me there? Could you unmute?
Yes.
You could hear me.
Yeah.
My internet blinked out here for a second. Okay. So they said, Zeh Keli v'anvehu. They realized we have to make a Beis Hamikdash. We have to have the ability to make a Beis Hamikdash where the Shechina is going to be, that's going to serve as a focal point of Klal Yisrael. Something that's going to serve as a rock-solid reminder of what life is all about. Zeh Keli va'anvehu elekei avi va'aroi memenu. I will uplift him, and I will show the whole world. I'll show the whole world how there's so much more to life than just the mundane living of Olam Hazeh. David HaMelech, when he wrote a Shiur for the Beis Hamikdash, he said, Arei Mimcha Hashem. That's what I'm going to do. What Klal Yisrael said by the Yam Suf, when they said Arei Memenu, now I'm going to do it with the Beis Hamikdash. Arei Mimcha Hashem, I'm going to uplift you through the building of a Beis Hamikdash. And then David HaMelech says, and why am I uniquely suited to this? Arei Mimcha Hashem ki dilisani v'lo simachta oivai li. And in the next pasuk, Hashem Elokai, Hashem my God, Shivati elecha, I cried out to you, vaterpa'eni, and you healed me. Rashi says, vaterpa'eni hislichas avoin, meaning you forgave my sins. What's David HaMelech saying? What David HaMelech is saying is, let's remember, the Gemara says that as long as we had a Beis HaMikdash, nobody ever went to sleep in Yerushalayim upset. Nobody ever went to sleep sad. Why? Because they came to Yerushalayim upset and worried because they had a chet, they had an avera. But then they came to the Beis HaMikdash, they brought a carbon, and that carbon went up on the Mizbeach, and they saw that the Eish bin Hashamayim, the fire that came from heaven, a miraculous fire, came and burnt their carbon, and they knew that they were forgiven. So nobody ever went to sleep upset in Yerushalayim. You have a chet, you feel estranged from the Rabbeinu Shalom for whatever reason, bring a carbon. If you're not chayiv to bring a carbon, you didn't do something that makes you obligated to bring a carbon, so bring a carbon oila. You're not rich, you can't bring a behemagasa, you can't bring a cow for a carbon in the Beis HaMikdash, bring a mincha. Bring a carbon mincha. Some flour, some oil, some levina, some salt. Cheap. You bring a carbon mincha. And you see your carbon go up on the Mizbeach, and you know that the Rabbeinu Shalom took a reach nichayach. He took a pleasing aroma from you. And you're close to the Rabbeinu Shalom. What an unbelievable opportunity that a person has. What David HaMelech said was, the fact that I did a chet, and then I was able to get kapara, I was able to be imperfect, and then come back to the Rabbeinu Shalom, that alone is a reason why I am uniquely suited now to Aremimcha Hashem, to this lesson of uplifting Hashem and showing people that they should make Ruchnius the focal point of their lives. Why? There's an unbelievable lesson here. And really, it's a lesson that the Torah HaKadosh gives us all the way in the beginning of time, in Bereshis. We all know the story of Cain and Hevel. Cain killed Hevel. Why did he kill him? Well, you had Cain and Hevel, brothers, born at the same time, and they both brought karbanos. They both brought sacrifices to the Rabbeinu Shalom. And the pasuk tells us that there was a difference between their karbanos. Cain, he brought Vayave Cain mi pri ha'adama. He was a farmer. He brought produce as a carbon to the Rabbeinu Shalom. Okay, nothing wrong with bringing produce as a carbon. We know that the Torah HaKadosh gives us the concept of bikurim. What's the concept of bikurim? The concept of bikurim is, you're a farmer, you go out to your field, and when you see that first crop, when you see that first fruit that comes up, you go ahead, you tie a ribbon around it, and that you're going to bring to the Beis HaMikdash. Now the truth is, it's a very funny concept. Why should you bring the first one? Bring the nicest one. The first one is not always the nicest one. So why are you bringing the first one? The reason you're bringing the first one, did you ever go to a store and you see that the shopkeeper has a dollar bill that's scotch taped to the wall behind the counter? What is that dollar bill? That's the first dollar when he opened up the store. The first customer that came in and gave him $1, he tapes that up behind on the wall. Now, what do you think would happen? It would happen if you had a lot of change in your pocket and you told the shopkeeper, "Listen, I have 10 dimes jingling around in my pocket. Do me a favor, I'll give you the 10 dimes. The 10 dimes are useful to you. You could use them to give change to your customers, especially with COVID, right? There's this shortage of coins. So I'll give you the 10 dimes, and I see you have a dollar bill scotch taped to the wall. Give me the dollar bill." "Yeah, I'm not going to give you that dollar bill." "Why not?" It's my first dollar. Hello, it's $1. It's literally $1. It's worth $1. You know what? I'll give you $1.20. No, he's not going to give it to you. Because that dollar bill is worth more to him. It's sentimental. It's the culmination of all the planning and all the work that he did, and he finally opened up a store, and he finally had a customer come in and buy something, and he actually made money. That dollar bill means a lot to him. That first rimon, the first pomegranate that the guy with the pomegranate orchard has, that first one, all the work that he did and all the preparation and the early mornings and the late nights and sometimes protecting the fruits from a frost or digging under the trees or all the watering, everything that he had to do, it's all bound up. Now he goes and he sees that first fruit and he sees the beginning of his success. You take that and you bring it to the Beis HaMikdash. You don't hold on to it. You take that and you bring it to the Beis HaMikdash to offer it up, to thank the Ribbono Shel Olam. So certainly there's nothing wrong with bringing produce as a carbon. But the problem with Cain's carbon was, Rashi tells us, the pasuk says he brought mi pri ha'adama, with a mem, from the fruits. Rashi says, brings down from the Medrash, mina garua. He brought from the shvacha fruits. What he said was, the Ribbono Shel Olam cares if they're good fruits or they're not good fruits. The Ribbono Shel Olam doesn't eat. So why should I waste the good ones on the Ribbono Shel Olam? I'll give him the crummy ones. I'll sell the customers the good ones. Doesn't work that way. If you give the Ribbono Shel Olam the crummy ones, you didn't sacrifice anything. The whole point over here is to sacrifice something, to show that you're willing to give up for the Ribbono Shel Olam, to show that you have a realization that everything you have comes from the Ribbono Shel Olam, and therefore it doesn't hurt you. It's not difficult for you to give up for him. If you're not giving up, it's not a carbon. If you're not giving away anything, it's not a carbon. That was Cain's carbon. Hevel's carbon wasn't that way. By Hevel, the pasuk says, "The Hevel hevi gamhu mi bechayros tzaynai umechalvehen." He gave from the best of his sheep, from the fattest ones. He gave a carbon. Then what happened? Cain saw that Hevel's carbon was accepted, and his was not. So the pasuk says, "Vayichar leKayin ma'od." Cain was very upset. Vayiplu panav. He saw that the Ribbono Shel Olam did not take his carbon. What did he see? An eish came down min hashamayim, a fire came down from heaven, and it burnt up Hevel's carbon. So he saw that Hevel's carbon was taken by the Ribbono Shel Olam. His was not. He was upset. Okay, what does the Ribbono Shel Olam tell him? Vayomer Hashem al Cain, Hashem said to Cain, Lama charalach. Why are you upset? Lama charalach. Why are you upset? V'lama naflu panecha. Why are you downtrodden? Why? What are you upset about? Haloi imtative. Haloi imtative. If you'll do tshuva, la pesa haloi imtative seis. If you do tshuva, then the Ribbono Shel Olam, I will forgive you. V'im lo yisetiv. If you don't do tshuva, la pesach chatos roivetz. Then your chait, your avera, will be waiting for you at the grave. Ve'elecha tshukasai. You should know that you have a yetzer hara. So your cheshik, your desire, is going to be pulling you towards chait. Va'ata timshal boy. But, like Rashi says in Tirtzeh, if you want to, tiskaber alav. You could be victorious over your yetzer hara. This is such an unbelievable pasuk. It's such a critical pasuk. I mean, every pasuk in the Torah is critical. But this, to me, is a pasuk that gets short shrift. You know, in Parshas Bereshis, we spend a lot of time on Brias HaOlam. We spend a lot of time on the chait of eating from the Eitz HaDas. Then we go later in the Parsha, and we spend time after Noach is born. And then before you know it, we're talking about the Avos HaKadoshim. We're talking about Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We don't spend a lot of time here. But this pasuk tells us so much about our purpose in this world and our purpose in life. Look what the Ribbono Shel Olam said to Cain. Cain was upset. Why was he upset? He was upset because he realized that the Ribbono Shel Olam did not accept his avodah. And he was upset by that. And what did the Ribbono Shel Olam say to him? The Ribbono Shel Olam said, Lama charalach? Why are you upset? What do you mean, why am I upset? I'm upset because I offered you a carbon and you didn't take it. That's why I'm upset. So what do you mean, Lama charalach? Why are you upset? But the Ribbono Shel Olam tells him, I'll tell you why I'm asking you why you're upset. The reason I'm asking you why you're upset is because perfection is not of this world. I didn't put you in this world perfect. Adam Arishan ate from the Eitz Hadas. And when Adam Arishan ate from the Eitz Hadas, we all got a Yetzer Hara. Every single one of us is born with the Yetzer Hara. We're all born imperfect. We're all born with challenges. We are all, every single one of us, born with imperfections. And the Ribbono Shel Olam made it that way. Not a single one of us is supposed to be perfect from the get-go. Every one of us has unique challenges. Every one of us has a different Yetzer Hara. Every one of us is being drawn away from Avodas Hashem and being tempted and being challenged. One person is being tempted because he has a desire and he wants to run after money. Another person is being tempted and he wants to run after taiva. He wants to run after the lusts and the desires of this world. Another one is running after kavod. Another one is lazy. Another one is a kaisen. Another one is a balgaiva. Another one, every single person in this world came into this world with challenges. And that is what the Ribbono Shel Olam told Cain. Lama charalach, why are you upset? You're upset because you made a mistake? You're upset because you brought a carbon improperly and I didn't accept your carbon? That's why you're upset? Congratulations! You just discovered a failing of yours. So now you start doing the work. You discovered a failing and now you have to start picking up the pieces and you have to do your avodah. Haloi imtativ. So now go and improve yourself. If you'll improve yourself, says, don't worry about the chet. Your chet will be forgiven. I'll give you kapara. V'im lo yisetiv, if you're going to fall down on the job and you're not going to do what you're supposed to do, if you're not going to work to improve yourself, then indeed you're going to have a problem. La pesach hatas roivetz. Then your imperfections will go with you to the grave. And then I'm going to have tainus on you in Shamayim. And ve'elecha chukasai. And it's true. Your desires and your lusts are going to draw you after the Yetzer Hara. But you should know va'ata timshol bai. But you should know that I endowed you and I gave you everything that you need. I gave you all the kaiches hanefesh that you need in order to be victorious over the Yetzer Hara. Va'ata timshol bai. That's a guarantee from the Ribbono Shel Olam. Like Rashi says in Tisratza, if you desire to be victorious over the Yetzer Hara, then tiskaber olav. You will be victorious. So that's why the Ribbono Shel Olam says to Cain, what are you upset about? What are you upset about? It's like a child you buy a child a jigsaw puzzle. So the child will open up the puzzle and start crying. You say, mein Kind, what's the matter? What's wrong? And the child will say to you, Mommy, the picture is in 1,000 pieces. Congratulations, it's a puzzle. The picture is supposed to be in 1,000 pieces. The challenge now is to put the puzzle together. You want a picture? I could buy you a picture. There's no grace of glick in buying you a picture. I've spent money because they cut it into 1,000 pieces. It would be cheaper as a picture than it is as a puzzle. The whole idea over here is build the puzzle. That's what the Ribbono Shel Olam says to Cain. He says to Cain, this is your avodah. This is your avodah. Your avodah is identify your imperfections and work them out. And that's how you're going to get schar. And that's your avodah in this world. And that's what avodas Hashem is about. David HaMelech says here in Kapitel Lamed, Arei Mimcha Hashem, I can uplift you, Ribbono Shel Olam, and I can show Klal Yisrael that the tafkid of life, the focal point of life, is avodas Hashem, ki dilisani. because you accepted me with my imperfections, and you granted me forgiveness to the extent that I am David HaMelech, and my son Shlomo HaMelech, who comes from Bathsheba, is going to be the one who builds the Beis HaMikdash. And Klal Yisrael, this is how you see that the Ribbono Shel Olam, that Avodas Hashem, is the Iker. If it wouldn't be this way, if it would be that if a person makes a mistake, the Ribbono Shel Olam just writes him off, Chas v'Chalila, then what's Avodas Hashem? Then what's life? It's a joke. The Ribbono Shel Olam puts me into this world with imperfections, and then the Ribbono Shel Olam, if I do something wrong, the Ribbono Shel Olam throws me to the wind. So what is it? But it's not that way. Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba b'trunya and briyosav. The Ribbono Shel Olam doesn't give us tests that we can't do. The Ribbono Shel Olam's not playing games with us. The fact that we're here with imperfections, but we could rise above them, and the Ribbono Shel Olam helps us to rise above them, and the Ribbono Shel Olam gives us kapara, and the Ribbono Shel Olam will be willing to uplift us to the highest heights. That's where you see the value of Avodas Hashem. Now you see that there's a purpose to life. Now you see that there's a purpose to my imperfections. Now you see that there's a purpose to my avodah. And that, Rabbi Isai, is what the Beis HaMikdash is all about. What's the yesod of the Beis HaMikdash? The yesod of the Beis HaMikdash is that the Beis HaMikdash shows us the ability, the ability that we have to come close to the Ribbono Shel Olam, to grow, to get kapara. Kirvas elikim litayv. The fact that we have a Beis HaMikdash where we could come and we could bring a carbon chatas, where we could come and we could bring a carbon oil, we could bring a carbon mincha. We could come to a place on this earth where we could see nisim b'chush. We could see smoke go up where the wind can't blow it. We could see all sorts of nisim. We could see a place where the regular rules of the universe don't hold sway, and where the Ribbono Shel Olam is willing to give us kapara. That shows us the value of Avodas Hashem, and that our life is purposeful. And that's what David HaMelech says here. Mimcha Hashem kidilisani v'lo simachta oivali. The fact that you would give me kapara, that's how I can uplift you. And this is the song that I want sung at the dedication of the Beis HaMikdash. I want the world to see that the Beis HaMikdash is a makom of kirvas elikim litayv. And that kirvas elikim litayv means that I'm always growing to kirvas elikim. It means that the Ribbono Shel Olam accepts every one of us with our imperfections as long as we're growing, as long as we're striving, as long as we're willing to come to the Beis HaMikdash and look and listen and learn and grow. The Ribbono Shel Olam accepts us and wants us. And that's why he gives us a Beis HaMikdash. It's interesting. Most years, Chanukah falls out in Parshas Miketz. Now, in the saga of Yosef HaTzadik, Yosef HaTzadik went Me'igra Rama Labara Amikta. He went from the heights of being in Yitzchak and Yaakov Avinu's household to a Bara Mikta, to a deep pit, literally. He went from the heights of growing up in Yaakov Avinu's house to being sold into Mitzrayim, to being very successful in Mitzrayim in the house of Potiphar, and then to being thrown into prison, but not only being thrown into prison, by being thrown into prison and being accused of something disgusting, of being accused of something that runs contrary to everything that the Torah HaKadoshah is about. So not only is he thrown into prison, he's in all the tabloid headlines. Yosef goes after his master's wife. By the time Parshas Miketz comes around, Yosef is already riding high again. He's the Mishnah Lamelech, he's the second to the king in Mitzrayim. And then his brothers come. Now the Shvatim are already back on the scene. And you have all the byplay between Yosef and the Shvatim. But Yosef is already back on top. This year, Chanukah falls out in Parshas Vayeshev. Parshas Vayeshev is quite the opposite. By the end of Parshas Vayeshev, that's when Yosef HaTzadik is at his lowest point. He's in prison, and he thought that he had hopes of getting out. He thought that the Sar HaMashkim would go mention him to Paroi and tell Paroi that he's been wrongly imprisoned. Sar HaMashkim forgets him. So at this point in Parshas Vayeshev, all hope is lost. He's at the lowest point of his life, Yosef HaTzadik. And that's where Chanukah falls out this year. And I think it's very appropriate. We find ourselves this year coming into Chanukah, and we're, so to speak, at a low. A lot of us, we want to have our families for Chanukah. Can't have our families. People can't travel. They can't come from out of state. A lot of people, parents, grandparents, they can't have family in their home. It's dangerous. They have to stay away. I have one family, one married couple that are in quarantine in Ohio. Should have a refuah shlema, Baruch Hashem, they're doing well, but the virus is in their house. I have another family who's in quarantine from exposure. They were supposed to be here for Shabbos. They can't be here for Shabbos. We're being very careful who we could be around, who we can't. There are people who won't go to shul. I heard one fellow who has not been in shul. He hasn't davened with a minyan since the beginning of COVID. Since the beginning of COVID, he hasn't davened with a minyan. I'm not sure if there are health issues there or what it is, but in the community that he lives in, there aren't any so quote unquote safe minyanim. He hasn't davened in shul since the beginning of COVID before Pesach. Everything that we're used to has been turned upside down. The Shiur is on Zoom. It's not live. So we find ourselves going into Chanukah on a low. And for a lot of people, the simcha of Chanukah is somehow not there the same way. And I'll give you even a silly little example. We have an Avos Ubanim program here in town. And I always take care of arranging the treats for the kids by the Avos Ubanim program. So first of all, the whole Avos Ubanim program, instead of having all the kids learning together in the yeshiva's oitzer, in the yeshiva's library, now you have the olam, the part of the neighborhood who's less concerned, or maybe they have antibodies. You have maybe 20 people learning together in the library. Then you have classrooms where you have a few kids with their fathers in each classroom, apart from each other, wearing masks. So you have kids learning here, and you have kids learning there, and you have kids learning there. And then you have the families that are in quarantine, and they call up and they say the kids are learning here in the house. And then you want to go, usually Chanukah, I order donuts for the kids. I can't order donuts because the donuts come loose and somebody has to serve them out. And that means everybody's handling them. People don't want it. If you're handling it, they don't want it. So you have to get things that are individually wrapped. Donuts don't come individually wrapped. So Chanukah, the kids look forward all year to the donuts. I can't get them donuts. I have to get them something else. It affects everything. It affects everything. And the Rebbeinu Shalom made that Chanukah this year is Parshas Vayeshev. I think that is a very, very strong lesson here. And that is, again, Arei Mimcha Hashem Ki Dilisani. We uplift the Rebbeinu Shalom because the Rebbeinu Shalom uplifts us. In order to be uplifted, first you have to be on a down. David HaMelech was uplifted after David HaMelech went through all of the tsar and the suffering of his enemies ridiculing him and his enemies wishing for his destruction and trying to rejoice over his destruction. Yosef HaTzadik, the pasuk says, Asher nafalti kamti, because I fell, I arose. David HaMelech was first. Yosef HaTzadik was first on a low before the Rebbeinu Shalom lifted him up. It's in the lifting up that we see the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's when we're down, we could look at the Rebbeinu Shalom. We have to look. It's so clear to see the Yad Hashem now. It's so clear. It's like somebody told me this week, I wish I could run away somewhere for a few months. When there's a magefa, when there's a plague, that's what the rich, the people who have the ability, what they like to do is they run away from the magefa. If the magefa is in this continent, I'll run to a different continent. If the magefa is in this city, I'll run to a different city. If it's in this country, I'll run to a different country. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to run. It's like Adam Arishan, Ayeka. Where am I going to hide? You can't hide from the Rebbeinu Shalom. Rabbi say, you can't hide. There's nowhere to run. Where are you going to run to? You know, during the first wave, so we had it here in New York, and in a lot of places in the country, they weren't suffering from it. Now they're suffering from it in the whole country. And they're suffering from it in all the countries in the world. It's all over the place. It's here, it's in Europe, it's in the Middle East. It's everywhere. How clear do you have to see it? How clear does the Rebbeinu Shalom have to lift up his hand? Does the Rebbeinu Shalom have to turn Mayim to Dam in order to see the Rebbeinu Shalom? I mean, we see it b'chush. The Rebbeinu Shalom is destroying the economies of the entire world. The Rebbeinu Shalom is making fun of every doctor and every scientist in the world. The greatest minds have been working on this virus since the beginning of the year, and they still have absolutely no clue why you have 5 people who get infected with this virus, and from the 5, 2 of them have absolutely no symptoms, 1 of them has a cough, 1 of them has a low-grade fever, and 1 of them ends up in the ICU. And they cannot identify what it is. They can't figure it out. Tell you it's underlying health conditions. You have perfectly healthy young people who end up in the ICU and worse. So the Rebbeinu Shalom is showing you his presence. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Aremimcha Hashem kidilisani. We're coming into Chanukah. Chanukah's Habayis. We're asking constantly for the Bias Goel Tzedek b'Meher v'Yameinu, that the Rebbeinu Shalom should bring us a Beis Hamikdash. The Rebbeinu Shalom should bring the Geula Shlema. He should give us a Beis Hamikdash. We want to sing by that Chanukah's Habayis. We're coming into Chanukah now. What can we do? What should we do during Chanukah? What should our mindset be on Chanukah? Our mindset should be Arei Mimcha Hashem. We want to uplift the Rebbeinu Shalom. We want to light that little candle. Not the I live here in Staten Island amongst the Italians. You got to see. I remember Mendel Eisenman, she should be well, came a few years back and he dropped off something by my house here one night during this season. And he was blown away by the light displays that go on over here around my house, by these $1 million homes. It's like unbelievable. Con Ed must be raking it in. I mean, they have these light displays and the projectors projecting things onto the houses and the things moving around and the music. I mean, it's unbelievable. We have a candle. We have a little nair. But that nair, what we have to show our families, what we have to show our neighbors and friends, that nair, ki ner mitzvah v'Torah or, the nair of Torah, the nair of mitzvah, the nair of ruchnius, that's the focal point of our lives. Everything else is mishagas. Look around you. Look around you. Look at what the Rebbeinu Shalom is doing. Look at the Yad HaChazaka. Look at the Rebbeinu Shalom's might. Look at the Rebbeinu Shalom's power. What are you going to do? You're going to close your eyes and act like nothing is going on? You're going to close your eyes and live life as normal, quote unquote? You're going to live life with blinders on and pretend? And you're just going to go through life? Yeah, I'm an accountant. I get up in the morning and mumble my way through davening. I go to work, spend the whole day at work, come home, eat supper, go to sleep. What? Look what's going on. Look what's going on in the world. Don't you see that there's a Rabbeinu Shalom, that there's a higher purpose to life? Don't you see that there's more to life than that? That's Mizmar Shir Chanukah Sabayis LeDavid. That's Chanukah. Chanukah is about dedication. We have to dedicate ourselves to a higher purpose. We have to dedicate ourselves to Ner Mitzvah V'Torah Or. We have to dedicate ourselves, and we have to show everybody what the focal point of life truly has to be. And we have to remember that the Rabbeinu Shalom is fully prepared to accept each and every one of us on our level, with our imperfections, with our challenges, wherever we are. Not, me? I can't even open up a Gemara. What am I going to do already? I don't even know. What do you mean? Go to davening tomorrow, take an English sitter, and take 5 lines of davening. Make up in your mind that you're going to have kavanah by the first bracha of Shemoneh Esrei. You're going to pay attention to what it means. The first pasuk of Kriya Shema, you're going to pay attention to what it means. You're going to learn something, whatever it is. You're going to learn some Torah. So easy to learn Torah nowadays. There's so many shiurim out there. Torah anytime, Kol HaLashon. I mean, there's so much. But that the focal point of your life is going to be ruchnius. Even now, when we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, the halacha tells us that when we daven, we're supposed to have in mind that we're davening Shemoneh Esrei and we're standing in front of the Heichel, that our davening is going to the Beis Hamikdash, even though we don't have one in this world now. But there's a Beis Hamikdash Shamayla, there's a Beis Hamikdash up in Shamayim. And if we make Ruchnius our focal point, then it's as if we have a Beis Hamikdash. It's as if we have the structure. And we have a Torah. We could make the Torah our focal point of life. That's Chanukah. That's our Mimcha Hashem Kidlisani. I know it's late, but I would be remiss because I mentioned it in the beginning of the Shiur. I should just mention that we have this lashon of our Mimcha, I said in Kapitel Kuf Mem Hey. Kapitel Kuf Mem Hey, we have the pasuk of Paisach es Yodecha u'Mazbiya l'chol chai rotzen. We thank Hashem in Ashrei, Paisach es Yodecha, Rabbeinu Shalom. We recognize that you open up your hands, u'Mazbiya l'chol chai rotzen, and you provide every living being with his ratzon, with his needs. The Rabbeinu Shalom provides for every single one of us. When a person comes to the realization, to the true realization, that everything he has comes from the Rabbeinu Shalom, and that the Rabbeinu Shalom provides for all of his needs, that also serves to Arei Mimcha Hashem. That also serves to make a person uplift Hashem and say, if I recognize that every breath that I have, somebody gets COVID-19, suddenly he has difficulty breathing now, every breath that you have is a gift from the Rabbeinu Shalom. If you realize that every breath you have is a gift from the Rabbeinu Shalom, then you make Avodas Hashem the focal point of your life. Otherwise, you're a fool. If somebody would realize that he's only alive and everything that he has, there's one person who's taking care of him constantly, and that person says, I want a coffee, you're going to jump and give him a coffee. So if you realize that the Rabbeinu Shalom is the one that's well, I just read a line somewhere, which in with this virus is such a good line. He says, breathing reminds us that life is a 3-minute contract. You don't breathe for 3 minutes, you're not alive. So life constantly has a 3-minute expiration date. And you hope that within the 3 minutes your life is renewed. You breathe again. Okay, I breathed again. I got another 3 minutes. I breathe again. I got another 3 minutes. If you stop breathing, your contract chas v'chalil is over. If you realize that every breath that you take is a gift from the Rebbeinu Shalom, so then you have a Torah with Taryag mitzvahs, with 613 mitzvahs. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, this is the life that I want you to live. So you make that your focal point. If not, you're a fool. We should go into Chanukah, and we should be Zoicha to a Chanukah Sabayas. We should be Zoicha that Kilachot Tichra Kal Berach Tishava Kaloshain. The whole world should see Lefanecha Hashem Yichru V'Yipailu. Like my cousin Rabbi Asher Weiss from Eretz Yisrael, I heard him speak at the beginning of the week, and he said Kilachot Tichra Kal Berach. The Rebbeinu Shalom is bringing the whole world to its knees. The whole world has been brought to its knees. But what we don't have yet is Lefanecha Hashem Yichru V'Yipailu. They don't realize yet that it's the Rebbeinu Shalom. We have a fool like Cuomo who says it has nothing to do with God. It's the doctors and a vaccine and smart decisions. You idiot, what you are. Vaccine, schmaxine, masks, this, that. It's all nonsense. It's the Rebbeinu Shalom. Well, what? Your great vaccine is what's going to save everybody? Who made the microbe? Who made the microbe that's running around the world that is bringing the whole world to its knees? Who was that? Cuomo. So they have not yet reached the point of Lefanecha Hashem Yichru V'Yipailu. They haven't realized yet that, oh boy, we're in trouble. There's a creator, and he's not happy. That they haven't reached yet. But Kilachot Tichra Kal Berach, the fact that everybody's been brought to its knees, that we've already reached. Halavai, we should reach Lefanecha Hashem Yichru V'Yipailu. V'Kabel Chulam Asal Malchusecha. V'Simlech Alei Meher Alei Levayed Ki Amalchu Shel Chai. That's what we should be zeicher to. We should be zeicher to a real Chanukah Sabayis of the Beis HaMikdash. Everyone should have a freilich in Chanukah. We should be able to inject Chanukah with Simcha. We have to realize that despite everything, it is a Zman of Simcha. We have to be Mesameach, and we have to make the bracha She'asa Nisim Bayama Mehem Bezman Hazeh. The Rebbeinu Shalom made the Nisim Bayama Mehem in those days, Bezman Hazeh, in this time. Because the Rebbeinu Shalom is l'maylo min hazman. The Rebbeinu Shalom is not bound by time. So the Nes of Chanukah is happening now. By us, there's a concept of time. By us, there's a concept of history. That it happened in antiquity. But by the Rebbeinu Shalom, there is no antiquity. There's no time. We can't even conceptualize what that means. But by the Rebbeinu Shalom, there is no before, there is no after. There is no time by the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's why we say, She'asa nisim bayama mehem bezman hazeh. So now we're going into Chanukah, we're going into time of Nisim. We don't need the vaccines. I'm not saying that people shouldn't take vaccines. Don't take it that way. But we don't need vaccines. We need the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's what we need. The Rebbeinu Shalom go like this, and the whole virus burns out, and it's all over. You know, halavai, it should happen now. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow. It can happen now. The numbers will stop right now. And what's the big deal? So the doctors and the scientists will scratch their heads, and they'll say, we don't know. We don't know what happened. Okay, so what? They don't know how it started. They don't know how it's going now. They don't know why people get it and why people don't. They don't know why people die and why they don't. They don't know why they get sick and why they get sicker. They don't know anything. So they also won't know why it burnt out. But it'll burn out. That's all. So halavai, the Rebbeinu Shalom should burn it out right now. Not tomorrow, not tonight, right now. It should burn out right now. And we should have a zman of simcha. The Rebbeinu Shalom should be making a ganz Klal Yisrael b'chol makom shehem, and everybody should have a freilich and wonderful, wonderful Chanukah.
Thank you, Rabbi Weiss. That was great.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
It's good
Thank
to
you.
It should be well.
it's good to see you and hear you.
Before I forget, are we having Shiur next week on Chanukah or not?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Next week will be